My name is Professor Some, as you've heard. I'm an agricultural engineer, and I teach the area of mechanization, or at least I try to make sure that mechanization works. My welcoming remarks is just to say a little about the history of Chepkoilel. I keep calling it Chepkoilel, but now it's the University of Eldoret officially. In 1946, the white settlers established this place as a large-scale farmers training center. So we've missed a couple of years, if you work that out. But in 1984, this became the Moi Teachers Training College, which was a diploma college. At that time, I think there were only 3 or 4 others in the country. So this was joining that group of 4 doing diploma. But in 1990, at Small University, we took it up as a campus, a science campus. And later on in 2010, it was upgraded to a university college, which was then with a legal notice. That's how Chepkoilel became the name of University College. But in 2013, it was granted a charter and became the University of Eldoret officially, which it's been serving up to now. This is our outreach center. Any of you might have studied in the US would know that any land-grant university works with farmers. Why? We look for academic solutions, scientific solutions. You give us the opportunity to implement those solutions together with you. And I think this is really a link between the farming community and the university. We hope so, and we look forward to going through. So without much ado, let me invite my colleague, Professor Ojoto, to say a few.
I am Julius Onyango Chuodo. I said in my introduction that I have been a former dean here of the School of Agriculture, and have enjoyed working in this atmosphere for the last many years. We established this center, this outreach center. One of the most important functions is to train farmers, hands-on, alongside the farm that we have here. So we have organized several short courses. We have several short courses here, but we want to offer them on demand. We want farmers to come and tell us what areas they think we should train them. So please, this is a message that you should take out. We, in this center, we have an incubation unit, which is supposed to help people with ideas, business ideas, people with new technologies, so that we can help them grow them into businesses or into products. Now, let me come to the topic of the day. Enhancing food security through trade and technology in agriculture. Investment in agriculture is very low. And if, like we are trying to encourage our farmers that they go commercial, both the government and the farmers, we must invest in agriculture. That is very important, and we are not doing that. Now, when we are talking about food security, we cannot be food secure if and when we don't produce enough for ourselves. Almost 90% of our research is on production and production technologies, but we have ignored the upper part. The upper part is value addition and marketing. Value addition and marketing. These parts have been ignored. And because of that, we are not doing very well. Sometimes back when the current DP was the Minister for Agriculture, he came in very strongly and he said, we must subsidize agricultural activities. Can you remember that? And we ended up having a lot of maize, for example. But one thing that the government forgot is that if you produce, you must also plan how to sell it. When we produced a lot, the price went down and we had problems with marketing. This is something that also happened in Malawi when Bingu Mutharika did a similar thing. They overproduced, but they could not sell. So the produce got rotten in the store. And that's why I'm saying, if we want to produce enough, if we want to go commercial, we must look at the whole value chain. not just to produce, but also to know where to sell. Okay? Now, food security, you know the definition. But all of us, at all times, we should have enough food, both in quantity and quality, and according to our preferences. Now, that means that we should have a wide range of crops. We should not only be talking about maize. We should talk about all the other crops, because they are important. They are important in certain circumstances. They are important to certain other people, because we have our preferences. So it is important that we look at all these crops, that we do not just look at maize. Now, if we look at maize, in the US, I think it was in the 70s, they used to have large tracts of maize. And a disease came and it destroyed all that maize, because that maize was the same variety, several hectares, and they had a lot of problems. So they learned that we need to diversify. And that is what the government is also saying here. And this caught up just about 5 years ago, when we had an outbreak of maize lethal necrotic disease that wiped most of our maize crops here. And so the government came up and started telling farmers, can you diversify? In fact, in the North Rift, they've been telling farmers, can you start growing potatoes also? Africans are very interesting. I think we believe in the law of gravity, in the sense that we wait for things to happen. We are not very inquisitive. I'm challenging us. But we have been with maize for ages. But we only make ugali, uji, na githeri out of maize. I think that is too cheap. We should be able to increase our utilization of maize. One time, I went to Central Europe, to a country called Hungary. In Hungary, there is maize of all colors, black, and I was surprised, black grain maize, red, pink, purple, up to the white and the yellow, right? And they're all used for different purposes. That is just maize. I'm not talking about any other crop. That is maize. So they have different uses for maize. How about us here? It is ugali every day. That is just boiled. We cannot even change it. In fact, one day, I went to the house of the former Minister for Livestock, Dr. Noah Bekesa. He's married to a white lady. But do you know, that is the first time that I ate ugali that is baked. Now I'm talking to Kenyans here. Ugali that is baked. And I was impressed. I said, hey, this lady who is not even a Kenyan, maybe she's not a Kenyan, that is why she has brought in a bit of variety in cooking ugali. The ugali that I eat from Nyanza all the way to Coast is the one that is just boiled, isn't it? Now, we need to do something about these things. We are in a situation where we don't have the right policy mix. Why are the farmers still having maize in their stores and not where it can be accessible? Because we decided that it was the right time for us. A few of us who are smart and cleverer than most of us got maize from Mexico. I know some of it came from Uganda. So, the stores are full with maize from outside, and our farmers cannot sell their maize. Now, those are wrong policies. So we should know when to import and what to import, so that we do not have our farmers suffering, because then we are discouraging them from producing. Now, we need to increase our production. From where I stand, I know that we have exhausted all our arable land. In fact, some of our farmers have decided that our arable, very fertile land is not beneficial when you do crop production or even animal production on them. They have decided to build houses and homes and flats, because that brings in more money. My view is we must increase the acreage under agriculture. How do we do that? Let us go to the ASAL, to the arid and semi-arid areas. This country is 2/3 arid and semi-arid. We have a lot of virgin land. That land is still very, very fertile. The problem we have is that we don't have water. But look at us. How many rivers do we have in this country? How many lakes? The ocean is down there. And if you forget all that, I'm told that Turkana sits on top of a well, meaning water is not a problem. I started by saying we don't invest in agriculture. It is time we invested in agriculture. And if we want to increase production, let's go to northeastern. There's still a lot of land there. Let us have large-scale farms there, and let us do irrigation. We will feed this country, right? And for those who are around here, where the farms are small, let us embrace technology. Because small-scale farms, if we do not use the right technologies, we will never feed ourselves. We have a problem in Africa that in most African countries today, farms are becoming bigger. The unit size of farms is becoming bigger. But in Kenya, it is becoming smaller. We are the ones that are still cutting down our farms into smaller and smaller acreages. Malawi, Zambia, and the other places, they are consolidating their farms because they have realized that we need a little bit bigger sizes of farm, which are much more economical. So let me end up by telling you that we can do a lot in agriculture in this country, and we have wonderful, hardworking farmers, but we need to have the right mix, the right technologies, and the right mentality so that we can move agriculture forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right now, in our country, I don't think we have food sufficient because we have not embraced technology to the fullest. Technology in this country spins around a lot of things, starting from soil cultivation, planting, coming to spraying, and post-harvest management also. I'm happy that we're having companies like Trimble, like John Deere, like Case. We're bringing in the latest technology into the country. And I'll go back to our farm. We try to use precision agriculture. And precision agriculture will start from the moment you're tilling your land. We are doing minimal tillage, and minimal tillage will come a long way in conserving moisture and conserving your soil. There's less disturbance of your soil, and during times when there's drought, your crops will be able to produce high yields. When it comes to fertilizing, companies have brought in new technology whereby they are giving people slow release fertilizers. Essentially what is happening is that they are coating the fertilizer with a coating that is able to release the fertilizer for the period when the crop will need it. When you're doing crops like wheat, they normally need fertilizer for around 3 months. When you're doing crops like maize, the nutrient requirement is normally a bit longer. So the coating will depend on the crop that you're doing. What they do, like for wheat, I told you, it's 3 months. So they put a coating that will release the fertilizer for a shorter period. When you're doing something like maize, it will release the fertilizer for a long period. So your crop will be able to get the nutrients over a long period. Seed companies like Pana, Pioneer, they're bringing new variety seeds that are high yielding, that are climatic dependent. If you're doing places where it's high highland, the varieties that are sold on those places are different from areas where they are lowland. So you need to know your climatic region, and they'll be able to advise you on the best seeds that are there. During planting, there are precision planters. What the precision planters do is that they maintain a population that is required. Most seeds, when the chemical companies the seed companies are selling you seeds, they tell you that this is the guideline, you need to do this population, maybe between 50,000 to 60,000. If you don't have a precision planter, you cannot achieve this. Another technology that you have seen is when it comes to spraying. If you look at the chemical labels that comes on the containers, they'll give you a guideline. You need to spray these chemicals within certain temperatures. If you have a weather station in your farm, you can look at the real-time data. You can see the temperatures. You'll see that most chemicals will tell you don't spray when the temperatures are above 30 degrees Celsius. So with the weather station, you can see the temperature and you can know whether it's safe to spray or not. You can also see the wind speed. And when the wind is too high, you cannot spray because you'll be having drift and most of the chemicals will be going to places where you don't need them to be. So with the weather station, you can see the wind speed and you can know the type of nozzle that you need to put on your sprayer in order to go and spray. We have flat fan nozzles, we have anti-drift nozzles. So some of those things you'll be able to be precise. Some of these sprays that are coming in, precision sprays, the old technology sprays, the moment you turn and you're starting to spray, normally you'll start with a slower speed. But as you progress, the speed will keep on increasing. So where the speed is a bit low, you'll find that you're putting a lot of chemicals in the crop, and that will scorch your crops. But on these precision planters, they have speed sensors on the wheels, so that when you adjust the speed, it also adjusts the amount of chemicals that are going into the crop. When you get into a point where you've already sprayed, these precision planters sprayers will switch off those sections automatically. So you're able to spray a consistent amount of chemical into your crops. Another thing that we have seen, combine harvesters are coming with yield monitors. They're coming with moisture sensors. When you're in the combine harvester, you can look at the amount of the production in your field. With this information, you can know where areas where you need to add more fertilizer, as I told you, during planting. And also you can see the amount of moisture that you're having. These combine harvesters also will help you because when it comes to the calibration, it's a bit easy. Normally the old type of combine harvesters, you have to take the whole day to calibrate it. But on this one, you just go into the computer, you set up everything, and you're good to go. So some of this technology will help farmers to save a lot of time, a lot of costs that come with overlaps, that come with improper populations. And I believe that if we as farmers embrace this technology, and with the help of companies that are selling these machines, we can be able to improve our production and will be food secure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As I talk about the company, I think I'll try to relate the competitiveness. Yes, you can have food security, but at what cost are you producing that food? When we bring in the issue of trade, can you compete with the farmer next door? Can you compete with the farmer in the next neighboring country? Can you compete with the farmer in the world? I think that's where, especially as commercial farmers, we need to focus. Like when you get to the horticulture industry, the export, the floriculture industry, they are able to compete with the best in the world. So as we speak, as we look at these things, I think we need to look at what can we do to make ourselves competitive producers. As I said, I represent Cote d'Ivoire Agrosciences. It's a new company. It's a merger between 3 or we can say 4 companies. That is 2 seed companies, Pana and Pioneer, and 2 agro-input companies, agrochemical companies, that is the Dow and DuPont, to form, as I said, the biggest purely agriculture company in the world. We would like to offer our long-term plan is to offer one-stop solution to the farmer. The government policy may not favor the Kenyan farmer. You have to compete with anybody else in the world, such that that maize, even if it's not consumed, it can compete with any other maize in the world. There is also how can we do that? There is also now the aspect of combined harvesting. It is cheaper than the manual harvesting using labor. We know the youth, the current generation doesn't want those kind of jobs. So when you combine harvest, we have varieties that can stud. Because for combined harvesting, you need specific varieties that are suited for that. So they are able to start without lodging. The crop placement is at the right place. So those kind of varieties we are able to avail. When I move out to this area, there is also a change of trade in other parts, even here, to consume maize green. As an organization, we have the leading variety for green maize, Pioneer, that 253. We offered it because that segment is also growing for green maize production. And like the green maize farmers, by the time we are complaining about the lower price of the final grain, for them they have already sold their crop and done another second crop. When we talk about climate smart agriculture, that is because we know the weather is changing. Even here in North Rift, we know there is erratic weather. We have had occasions where the maize germinates, but the rains disappear for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So we have varieties that can wait, and when the rains come back, it will just continue. So drought tolerance is also important now, even for high altitude areas. So our varieties are able to survive even those conditions. Otherwise, for now, thank you.
A question here that is the theme of the day, technology. Everybody has mentioned bits and pieces of technology, including, of course, what we mentioned by our sponsors. Everybody here is using technology, whether it's chemical or mechanical. Why do we use all this technology? I think it's very important to mention the basics. We use the technology to reduce costs, increase production, and of course, make profits for us, or more profits for us. That's the simple reason why we do all of this, or else we wouldn't bother. Okay. So as I mentioned, as a business, as a family business, we do a lot of things. We do everything from tea all the way to dairy at the other end. All of these are consumables of commodities or consumables, food that we eat every day, and you find it everybody's home at any given time. I think if you go into any Kenyan's house, there'll be milk there, probably there'll be tea, there'll be some sort of flour or unga for food production. So we deal principally in that as a business, okay, those three main commodities. Talking about dairy, as alluded to for a second, one of the biggest issues in dairy that you can imagine is feeds. Getting consistent quality of feeds throughout the year is one of the biggest and hardest things to manage. We have been pushing supplies of seeds, like PANA previously, to supply us things like yellow maize, which isn't readily available in Kenyan hybrid form. Kenya Seed doesn't supply yellow maize for the dairy industry. So you find a situation where you can't actually have the optimum feeds for your dairy cow. Every single farmer in Kenya would love to use a silage as one of the main components for feeds, but we can't actually get the seeds that you need specifically for silage in the form of yellow maize. And nobody can actually stand up and argue that, wait, can you? No. And actually say they're giving us a solution for that situation. So majority of us will use the normal feeds, which is the normal white maize, and convert it into silage, but it is not the best. The other thing that we've had big issues with is, from the feed perspective for cows, is the protein supplement. The single most expensive component in cow feeds is protein. And again, getting the protein, you can seldom get it from Kenya. You have to import it from Uganda, etc., etc. We don't plant that many soybean type plants in Kenya. There are very few suppliers. Again, it's been a big question of things to put in. Okay. Other issues, of course, are things like disease. Everybody who's been a dairy farmer knows that handling cows is like handling children. As a large-scale dairy farmer, I can tell you from personal experience that it is the most painful thing to watch when your cows get sick. We had a foot and mouth outbreak last year, in August, I think, yeah, August last year, and it was the most devastating thing to watch in your life. We dropped from about 3,000 liters of milk production per day to 800 liters production per day. And the foot and mouth outbreak was caused by a delay in the vaccines, receiving the vaccines, which were delayed by about a month, and a delay in what I define as information sharing. You don't have any way of sharing information around the around the dairy industry that tells us that there is a foot and mouth outbreak somewhere and that farmers should be aware. I know that farmers here have also been affected by foot and mouth, but we don't get that kind of information moving around fast enough, and yet we have the technology. A simple message on WhatsApp would have warned all farmers, all dairy farmers, that there is foot and mouth in the region. Other issues, of course, which affects every single dairy farmer is milk prices. We've gone through the whole scenario of milk prices being very variable, going up and down. We suffered the days when milk was being poured down the drain. And we, again, used technology to deal with the situation. And the technology we used was very simple. We were the first people in this region to bring in the milk ATMs, where as a farmer we could actually process our own milk and retail it directly to consumers. And of course that would guarantee my minimum selling price at any given time. So technology came into use at that point to actually ensure that we were getting the right price for our milk. Another big issue with still focusing on technology, something that is very simple but farmers seem to never understand it. Have you ever asked yourself why in Kenya there is I think only one dairy farm that manages to consistently produce over 10,000 liters of milk per day? Remember, we're talking large-scale farmer. We're talking as large-scale dairy farmers here. So let's start talking real numbers. We are always busy talking about 1,000 liters as a target. Once we get to 1,000 liters, once we get to 5,000 liters, why is it we have very few farmers that seem to pass a certain stage in their milk production? You get to 3,000, you get to 4,000, and then everything just starts to slip back, or you can't pass that stage. After doing a lot of traveling around the world, whether it's Israel, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Argentina, you find one thing that they use that basically boosts majority of these farmers beyond this limitation of 5,000 liters or whatever it is, or 3,000 liters, is technology. The fact is that you cannot manage as an individual with a dairy manager and his assistants 400 cows. You're managing 400 children or 400 very delicate animals. You now need to incorporate technology into that. These are things like the ear collar tags that people are now getting, the ear tags that people are getting, the neck tags that people are bringing in. These are the technologies that dairy farmers need to start using, although they're expensive. It's basically the only way that you'll be able to get over that hump of increasing the amount of milk production that you're doing. At present, you find that majority of farmers reach a point, and because they've not introduced technology, they stagnate, and they really can't move forward. The technology is expensive, but the reality of the situation is to grow as a business in dairy, in maize, in wheat, or whatever it is, you must invest in the technology itself. Whether it is buying bigger combines, new tractors, better planting equipment, etc. The same goes for the dairy industry. You have to buy a new milking machine that can actually monitor your cows. You have to put collars on your cows. You have to start monitoring them. We've been very slow to, as I mentioned, to adopt technology. There is a reality that we seem to believe that as a country that we don't have the right type of dairy cows. Everybody here has, I'm sure, has heard about people importing cows from the Netherlands, people importing cows by air freight, people importing cows from South Africa on trucks. I'll tell you a story. The guy who was shipping cows from South Africa, for example, to Kenya, came to Kenya, looked around the cows, and said something very simple. He said, the cows you're getting from South Africa are identical to the cows you're getting from Kenya. We asked him why, what are you talking about? He said, because all the cows in South Africa were once shipped from Kenya. So they were all bought from the Delamere States once upon a time and shipped to South Africa. They simply looked after their cows and were now busy shipping them back to Kenya, which is very sad. It tells us that we have the quality of dairy cow here. We just need to look after our cows. And we've been taking a lot of things for granted, like AI, that used to be here and is now available readily in the market. We've been taking that for granted instead of simply just improving our own cows and moving forward from there. So the reality is that we have the breeds, we have everything, we're just not doing it. Every year you hear X number of farmers are rushing off to Israel to see something new. They're going to Netherlands to see something new. Question comes back, why isn't our dairy unit here a center of excellence? We talk about mechanization. We have farms here. Why don't we have the equipment here to actually be able to do it? There are farmers who are putting in a huge amount of effort and a huge amount of money to bring in the latest technology, which they use on their farms. And it shows you what it does. At the end of the day, I think this is a very good start from the university's part, trying to create a collaboration between the actual farmers themselves and the university. There is minimum relation, there's a small relation between academia and the real farmer on the ground, and I think this is a big step in the right direction. Thank you.
I'm Charles Masharia. I work with Copat Biological Systems. Copat Kenya is actually a subsidiary of a Dutch company which has been around for 50 plus years. Last year we celebrated 50 years globally. And in Kenya, we've been around for about 12 years. This is our 12th year. And actually, many farmers, many growers in other sectors, especially the flour industry, they know us a lot because as Copat, historically, our strength has been in what sometimes they call high-value crops, like in greenhouses or horticulture, where we supply natural solutions. To complement the chemical pesticides, we have natural solutions for controlling pests and diseases, and also for increasing productivity and increasing yield. For us, we also offer technology, but a different type of technology, something that perhaps you cannot see with your naked eye. So for us, especially for farmers in this region, maize farmers, we are offering microbial solutions, microorganisms that we think or we know if you put them as part of the production process, they can help to push productivity up even further. And we not only want to offer these solutions, the microbial solutions to the farmer, we also want to offer them in an innovative way. And the one product that we will show as an example is a seed dressing, a microbial seed dressing. Because many times farmers, growers are aware of seed dressing only in terms of chemicals, that's insecticides and fungicides to protect the seeds as they germinate. But what we are offering is an extra step over and above the original seed coating that is done on the seed, either by the seed supplier or, in the case of crops like wheat, on the farm by the grower himself. We are coming now with an extra coat of microbial seed dressing. And basically, we are delivering beneficial microbes close to the plant at the seed level. So as the seed germinates, it germinates with these good microorganisms. They help with, for example, protecting against diseases, but perhaps more importantly, improving the root system, imparting drought tolerance. People have talked about drought tolerance. Imparting drought tolerance on the crop, solubilizing locked nutrients. Every year we apply lots of fertilizers into the soil, a lot of which is not accessible by the plant. One of the answers is microbials, microorganisms, which can unlock the locked and inaccessible nutrients and make them more available to the plant. So I think with a few examples like we have here, we're on the right track, and don't hesitate to contact us for any questions.
Ben Mwasi is asking, from your experience, what is the minimum land size one can do meaningful mechanization for crop production? If you look at planters, there are companies that are coming with precision planters that are up to 4 rows. A 4-row planter can do even up to 1 acre, but it won't make a lot of sense for you to have a 4-row planter if you're not doing contact farming. Because if you look at this, most of these machines that are for precision agriculture, they're a bit expensive. If you're doing GPS controlled machines, you'll find that some of these machines range up to 3 million shillings. So if you're doing a small portion of land, it will take you a longer time for you to pay back. Unless you're doing contract farming where you do your own field, and then you go and hire out your machines for other people. Or maybe if you can come together, contribute and buy these machines. Abigail is asking, she's saying, very impressed and interested in precision agriculture. And her question is, what is the cost of slow release fertilizers as compared to conventional fertilizers? Like most part of this year, there was a point where we had a lot of rainfall within 2 months, and there was a lot of leaching of fertilizer. So if you look at the amount of the fertilizer that you're losing due to leaching, the slow release fertilizers will make a lot of sense for you to invest into. It's a bit expensive, but if you look at the production that is coming out of it, it pays back over time.
Felix Kili. The first question is, do you have any new varieties of maize for this region? If yes, what qualities are you targeting for the new breeds? As I said, we have the varieties, but right now we are now developing the new varieties. Will be available in about 3 to 5 years. The reason being, we have our own trials. Then they have to go to another 2 years by the National Performance Trial, which is done independently by KEFIS. So they'll be there, but in about 3 to 5 years. And what we are targeting is the yield, of course, for combined harvesting, the crop placement, and the standability. Among the others, the disease resistance and such. Number 2, you spoke of PAN 691 in this region. Are you sure you have researched on population? What is the recommended population on rain-fed at this region for PAN 691? Okay, for PAN 691, we recommend about 45,000 plants per hectare. What I can say is that we are using, from now on, going forward, we are doing our own population trials, where we do for all our varieties. We do at various populations. We have realized it has an impact on standability and yield. So for each variety, we are identifying the optimal population, especially for like what they grow Pioneer, that G19. So that's a process that is ongoing. We never used to do that research in the country. We are going to do it now. We'll be advising you for the optimum population for each variety. Question is, crop rotation is not doing well. Lack of utilization, varieties, and proper marketing. Yeah, we know farmers have been monocropping because wheat and maize are the same. That's not really crop rotation. So that's why we have started, as a new company, we are trying to develop new varieties. Farmers have not had good alternative crops as a crop rotation. So we are looking at canola, we are looking at soya, especially because of the dairy industry. We are looking at sunflower because of the oil, and also the cake can be used as animal feed. So combined together with the other dairy companies, we are going to do more marketing. We have not done it, especially on those products. Ben Mwasi, issue of post-harvest losses on grains, insects. here I can say post-harvest ratio of I think the weave was at such. There are solutions with the chemicals. There are various companies offer different products. I know of Teric, Super, and all those things. I think the challenge has been how we use them and also for how long they can protect. So I think there is a solution for post-harvest losses, especially where insects are concerned. Okay, there is one from David Some. Tell us the varieties of maize for silage, 90 days to 120 days, Uga for Ugari. For this region, for your information, I think we have a yellow variety, but not for this region. It is for the other lower region, the medium altitude areas. It's called PAN 14. We have another one called PAN 12 in the process of release by KEFIS. On the other varieties for this region, as of now, we don't have a 90 to 120 days variety. What we have is PAN 691. There will be a special tent on silage teaching of what we have. More details, you'll get it at the tent. Then there is the issue of question on C, Uga for Ugari. The variety for this area, for those who have grown it, I am sure his brother who knows them he can attest to it. It is good for Ugari. We know there are some varieties which were bred, okay, in quotes, they say they are bred for animals, but we have varieties that is bred for human consumption. There is also the second question on triticale for animal feeding. Cereal beef has not got up in Kenya. We will do something in future about triticale, but right now there is a competitor. You know, it's very good to be sincere. There is a competitor who is in the process of releasing a triticale. Triticale is a combination of wheat and barley, isn't it? Right. Yeah, there is a company which is in the near at the end of releasing a variety for triticale for dairy animals.
Two questions from Ben Mwasi. Why don't you grow your own protein source? Our single biggest problem is actually been hybrid seeds. We have tried to grow our own protein source. This is growing our own soybeans. And we've found that we don't have support for it. Number one, we don't have the seed. The seed comes in and doesn't come in the right quantity. There is one hybrid supplier. I'll not mention who, because they're your competitor. There is one soybean seed supplier. Our friends here are seated at the front. I don't think we supply soybean, which would be the perfect rotation crop as well. Maize and soybean as the perfect rotation crop if you had them together. And we simply can't get the seed on time, and we didn't have, until this year, the right chemicals to actually do weed management for soybeans. However, this year we do have the right chemicals, and it means that growing soybeans should become a bit easier than before. Okay, we are trying something else for soybeans, so this is a bit of experiment. This is something called sun hemp. Sun hemp is something we want to use as a cover crop. It both nitrogen fixes, and the leaves are very high in nitrogen. In protein, not in protein. It has about 44% nitrogen, I think, in its leaves. So the idea is we remove silage, plant this immediately. It's a dry area crop, so it will handle the dry season that we're going into after silage harvesting. And then we can harvest that and actually feed it to our cows as the protein source. Okay. Some people argue that Kenya produces less milk than it needs and uses. Why then milk prices? Okay, this basically, the answer is the way our milk comes. Majority of our milk is rain-fed. Okay, so you can imagine that when it's raining, there is a glut. When it stops raining, there is a famine. So the amount of milk varies and is not very stable. So what you find is that the processors play around with pricing. During the high season where there's a lot of milk, they cut prices, turn the milk into milk powder, and hold it for the low season. In general, the two companies that are doing it, of course, are KCC and Brookside, but they can't hold enough milk powder to be able to cover the low season. So they also import milk powder. That, of course, automatically results in milk prices, again, being maintained at a low level, because there are countries that produce milk powder at a much lower price than we do. Case in point, New Zealand, etc. So they produce milk powder at a very low cost. That is imported. That affects our milk prices here. So the solution for this is set up your own milk ATM. Question from David Some: yield of silage per acre of 25 tons. Mentioned again what farmers need to do to get this, basically, right? To get this, yeah. Okay. Basically, the critical steps are always the same. For you to get 40 bags of maize is the same way that you'll get 25 tons of silage. There is no shortcuts. You have to get your population right. You have to put in enough fertilizer. Our single biggest problem is that farmers cut amount of fertilizer they put into their fields. They don't appreciate that effect of fertilizer is actually exponential, in the sense that if you put in 1 bag of fertilizer, you'll end up with 15 bags of maize. If you put in 2 bags of fertilizer, you'll get 25 bags of maize. The relationship is actually exponential. So somebody putting in, for the sake of argument, 4 bags of top dressing will actually significantly increase his yield. On top of that, your soil management. Is your soil acidic? If it's acidic, you've got a problem. Because the moment you're putting in all the fertilizer, it's not doing anything. Okay? So it's just proper crop house husbandry. Quality of dairy cow, breeding, who is responsible for it? At the end of the day, I believe the farmer is responsible for his own breeding, along with your semen provider. In reality, every year or beginning of the year, a farmer should sit down with their semen provider and decide on a breeding program. That breeding program is based on the standard of your cows at that point in time. So between you and your semen provider will actually have a breeder somewhere who you can actually get for free. And you have to go look at your cows and discuss where you want to take your cows and how quickly you want to take your cows there. At that point in time, you'll be able to decide on what semen to use and what should happen during the year. At the same time, you analyze what happened in the previous years for the same cows based on your previous breeding program. Okay. Question from Abigail. Again, possibility for student internships. We already take about 10 students a year coming from various different colleges and universities. I can get you in contact with our HR.
Does consistent adding of microbes over the years add their population in the soil? If it does add on their population, does a farmer need to keep using it always as a seed dresser? So the answer to this question depends on the form in which you're adding the microbe. For example, if you were to use the other formats, for example, if you were to use granules, or you are to use a product that you can drench in the soil, and especially for horticulture, we do that a bit. There's some beneficial microorganisms that you can dilute with water and drench into the soil. For those, they have a longer stay in the soil. But even when they're in the soil, they are subject to the elements, because some of them, maybe they're fighting diseases, they're always going down. So it's always beneficial to add beneficial microorganisms virtually every season. In the case of seed dressing, it's also a form of precision agriculture, because you're dressing the seed with the microbes only where it is needed. So you get the benefit, but that benefit does not spread too widely. And also by doing so, a seed dressing is also more cost effective. Yeah, so I hope I've answered that one. The next one is, what are the active ingredients in, I believe, this product? For this particular one, we have 4. I avoided mentioning them so that I don't go too technical, but now that the question has been asked, it has Trichoderma hasianum, which helps protect against soil-borne pathogens, but also improves the root system and helps with uptake of water and nutrients. It's got 2 different species of bacillus. One helps with drought tolerance, while the other helps with phosphorus solubilization. And it also has a mycorrhiza, and mycorrhiza also helps to access phosphorus when it's low, but also have a greater reach of the roots to access water. And a few other additions like carrier material, vitamins, etc. But the microorganisms are the 4 that I've mentioned. Then, I'm not sure I understand this question, but it reads, how to get a mixture? I presume you're asking how to apply the product. Again, it's easy to use because there's no dilution required. A small-scale farmer can do it in a bucket. A medium-sized grower can use a drum, like was illustrated in the video. But a medium to a large-scale grower can also use the typical seed dressing machines. The only thing they'll do is they'll not tank mix the beneficial microorganisms with the chemical seed dressing. So you'll first do the chemical seed dressing, finish, let it dry, and then come later with a second coat of the beneficial seed, microbes. How do you convince the majority of small-scale farmers to adopt this invisible technology? What we've done over the last 1 or 2 years is, one, we do a lot of trainings for the small-scale farmers. We also do demos where they can see a treated crop and an untreated crop. This is the last question. Is there any observed effect in terms of seed quality, that is viability and emergence, by coating seeds with panoramics? The answer is, to the best of my knowledge, this germination of the seed is inherent on the quality. So if you buy good quality seeds, it already has a certain germination percentage. Panoramics in itself does not impact or improve on the germination. But one thing it does, it improves on the emergence. Because once the seed has germinated, and then it starts being protected by the beneficial microorganisms, and it also starts being strengthened by the beneficial microorganisms, then the emergence is better and the growth is better. So that is what we've been able to observe. Thank you.
Now that we have this center that aims at training farmers, we felt that we cannot be training farmers while our farm is the worst. We have realized that the farmers in the North Rift, there are quite a number of them that are really very well mechanized. And we don't want to be left behind. So we have already developed a business plan, and the university's management is looking for funds so that we can improve on our farm. So that when we are training you, we don't want to train you with the worst results. We want to train you with the best. So that is something that is ongoing. Ben Mwasi asks that I should give an example of short courses that we have at the outreach center. There are several. For example, we have integrated soil management, we have seed production, we have climate smart agriculture as a course here, a short course here, a course on plant diseases, a course on dairy farming. So, and there are several others. Those are just a few that I've mentioned. Professor Some is asking, do we need parastatols for commercial farming? Yes and no. We have had one parastatal in this country that has done very well, but they have gone into more seed production, that is the ADC, even Kenya seeds. But on producing foods, I think this has been left to individual large-scale farms to do it rather than parastatols.
The only session that I would like to say for way forward is that those of you who are registered as a large-scale farmer forum with the University of Eldoret, we have captured your details. I would want one of the participants to administer a WhatsApp group of the people who are here, with your permission, because, for instance, the people who attended today, we will be able to circulate to you who they are, just in case you remember they talked at this session and you'll have contacts.
A pumpkin like this, tunaona 50 shilling per kg. Probably this one is around 300. So na mama akiwa na 10 pieces like this akona 3,000. Anapata pesa yake ya chama kidogo, anapata pesa yake kidogo ya kazi. Ndio.
Alafu how much do you sell this?
300 shillings.
300.
Yes.
And this was?
In around 350. Yani approximately 10 kg.
Okay. Alafu produces this, how many of this?
Around 4. Yes.
So you now make 1,200.
1,200. There is a process. food security, many people think of maize, but there are other things that contribute towards food security. And this is improved indigenous vegetables. When you look at the saga there and the switcher here, that is the nightshade, these ones are very important nowadays, and actually they have been recognized by WHO. They were discovered here in Kenya, they have been developed here in Kenya, but now even the whole world is being told, can you feed on this? Why? Because of, first of all, the nutritional content. Very high nutritional content, both minerals, the vitamins and the light, and also for the control of things like high blood pressure and sugar levels and things like that. And we have Rihanna. These are varieties that we have found even when you look at them, they are at home and with minimum management, with minimum fertilizer application. So we are telling people, especially the off period after harvesting maize and before you plant again, you can have 2-3 months, you have your crop and you make money.
Okay, let me ask you, which is your latest seed that is selling most? I think maize is the leading, right?
Yeah, maize is the leading.
Which one is the latest?
6219, right? 6219, which is coming up next year. No, yeah, next year. But we have 6218 right now, which is number 2. 53 bags, the other is 66 bags. Yeah.
Is that the cheapest?
Yeah, of course, Kenya that's the cheapest. It's affordable. We are selling at 180.
Because as you make new seeds, you need to make the cheapest.
Oh yeah, yeah. We look for the cheapest and also the high yield also, and resistant to very other challenges. That's what the research is telling us. That one is 390. Yeah. It can be next year. 62, not 63, 6290. Yes, 290.
Many people are just asking whether these are skumas because they can't believe it, but we are telling them you can produce this. We are telling them you can produce this. Huh? So we are just showing.
Are you sure this is practical?
That's what you are not the first one.
It's only for demo.
You are not the first one. That's what people are telling them. But now we are here so that we give them the agronomy of how to develop this, how they can have their own.
Can I ask another question?
Yes,
is this GMO or real?
No, this is real. We don't deal with the GMO. We are still waiting for the regulation to be in place so that we see whether to embrace it or not. So no GMO, I can assure you.
No GMO.
No GMO, I can assure you.
We are very honest.
No problem. I'm not doubting. I don't doubt that.
Thank you. And they only take 2.5 months. Yeah, they take 2.5 months. And look at the youth. You get 15 bags per acre. The normal beans you get between 5 and 7 bags. So we are telling people, let's go to the area. There's no limitation. And there will never be limitation on this one. But you see the population is decreasing, which means the land is getting smaller. So we are coming with the technology that we use the aerial space. Yeah,
to 7 to 10 meters up.
So what we are saying is that we have innovated even when it comes to cabbages. You can see the cabbage we have here. It's very big and also it is disease free. That is the most important aspect. So that the farmers can reduce the cost of producing the same cabbage. Yeah, so it is innovation to improve on the farmers' welfare.
We have Pana and Pioneer. So these are products. Pana and Pioneer is now one company. Another one big company is now called Koteva. Koteva is our brand company. But we have subsidiary companies within them, which is Pana. This is our variety. Moale's variety, OM19, Pan 15. This is commercial and it's also doing very well here. Kruger is doing, Kili is doing 1,000 acres this year. And the yield potential is good. Is doing 42 to 4 for 30G19.
It's almost like spinach. So we just try to promote it, to get to the local people to have different taste of kales.
pia vile vile kumbuke majirani wafunze jinsi ya kuboresha
majeshi, wewe ni Mungu uishie milele, wewe ni Mungu mwenye huruma, na kama sio huruma zako wengine wetu hatungekuwa tunaishi siku hii ya leo. Kwa hivyo tunakuadhimisha, tunakupenda Baba. Tumekualika tunapoanza tukifungua maonyesho haya. Kwa hivyo enda pamoja nasi na uwe Ebeneza. Mwishowe tutasema hapana Mungu kama wewe. Barikiwe Jehova, uinuliwe Bwana wa majeshi. Tunasema kama Daudi, Bwana ndiye mchungaji wangu, sitapungukiwa na kitu. Ubarikiwe na uinuliwe kwa sababu tumeomba na kuamini katika jina la Yesu aliye Bwana na mkombozi wetu, na wote tuseme amen. Bwana wabariki.
Karibu nyumbani, nyumbani ngai. Babito, aya karibu nyumbani. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Jonathan. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Jonathan. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Missy. Oh aya karibu nyumbani. Aya karibu nyumbani. Aya karibu nyumbani. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Jonathan. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Jonathan. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Missy. Aya karibu nyumbani. Aya karibu nyumbani. Aya karibu nyumbani. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Jonathan. Oh eh oh eh, we love you Jonathan.
Asanteni sana, thank you very much. That is the University of Eldoret Staff Choir, wametufurahisha hapo.
Karibu sana nyumbani.
Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana.
So I would like not to waste a lot of time, but just to call our Vice Chancellor, Professor Teresa Akenga, to give a very brief remarks, and then we'll continue from there. Karibu, Vice Chancellor.
Ningependa kuwakaribisha katika maonyesho haya ya 13. Mwaka huu tumeleta ndani maonyesho aina mbalimbali. Tutakuwa na vibanda ya kufundisha vijana. Tumekuwa na maonyesho na mafundisho ya wakulima wa hali ya juu na wale wakulima wadogodogo. Kwa hivyo ningependa sisi wote tushirikiane, tuwe tayari kujifundisha. Ukitoka hapa kwa hii maonyesho, ujiulize ni nini umepata. Ningependa kushukuru wenzangu wote wamekuja kushuhudia hii maonyesho, na kama university tumesema tutaendelea kuonyesha wakulima katika area hii, na wakulima wanatoka kila mahali hapa nchini. Hata juzi tuliambiwa tutakuwa na wakulima kutoka Siaya, wakuje waone hapa Uasin Gishu tunaendeleaje mambo ya ukulima, na ni ukulima mambo leo. Tuangalie kulima kama biashara, isikuwe kulima ya kwenda hasara. Kila kitu tukifanya kwa shamba tujulishe, tufuate mawaidha tutapata kwa demo plots, mawaidha tutapata kwa hizo tents, ndio tutafaidika. Kwa hayo machache nasema tena mmekaribishwa, na nimeshukuru sana especially kwa sponsors, kwa exhibitors. Bila sponsors hatungekuwa hapa. University haingeweza peke yake kufanya hii maonyesho. Asante sana.
University management, our leaders present, sponsors, exhibitors, and show participants, staff, students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hamjambo. I only have 3 points before I invite our loved guest of honor for today. First, I want to say that in a very special way, I would like to take this opportunity to warmly welcome all of you to the University of Eldoret and to our annual Agribusiness Trade Fair. Secondly, guest of honor, this Agribusiness Trade Fair is part of the annual university calendar and a major corporate social responsibility activity, and it has registers tremendous growth over the years. Lastly, guest of honor and dear guests and participants, the University of Eldoret has its strength in science, environment, agriculture, and biotechnology. Therefore, hosting this trade fair, which provides an opportunity to bridge the divide between theory and practice of agriculture. So let me once again heartily welcome all of you and request you to feel part of this endeavor towards achieving the national goal of food sufficiency and growth of the agricultural sector. So with those remarks, it's indeed my very great honor, pleasure, and with great humility, I take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest, His Excellency, our Ambassador to Pakistan. Your Excellency.
The Chairman of Council, Professor David Ochaka, Council members present, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Teresa Akenga, members of the Management Board present, the Agribusiness Fair Organizing Committee, exhibitors, farmers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As I stand here with two hearts. One, as alumni of this great university, and two, as a resident of this neighborhood. So I want to say that this trade fair indeed plays a critical role in promoting agricultural development, not only in Uasin Gishu County, but in Kenya at large. And over time, we have seen the impact of this trade fair. This trade fair, of course, provides opportunities to farmers, traders, processors, service providers, and other stakeholders to learn about modern farming technologies, share information and experiences on various products, and available investment opportunities. I therefore urge all of us to take advantage of this to ensure that we get new technologies so that we can be able to improve our production and income generation. Indeed, for our country to be industrialized, agricultural investment, and more specifically value addition in agro-processing, manufacturing, and such other ventures is the way to go. Further, we have to entrench in our youth training in agricultural technologies so that we can be able to empower them to be in their small and medium enterprises, to enable them have jobs. And therefore I urge you to take this agribusiness very seriously, because this is the way to go. And I want to thank the management of the University of Eldoret for the strong foundation on these trade fairs. This is critical because agriculture remains the most important sector for growth of our economy and for the livelihoods of most people. It is for this reason that even as we invest more in social sectors, we have to keep in mind that we need better educated and healthy people so that we can be more productive in agriculture. Cognizant of its importance, the government has identified agriculture as a top priority productive sector for economic development. It is therefore imperative that the sector is well organized, well planned, and is supported with financial resources. I wish to commend farmers in this region for their hard work. In spite of this good performance, this region has the potential to produce even more if farmers apply modern technologies. I urge farmers to redouble their efforts and adopt and recommend farming practices that are modern in nature to raise their production. As we sit here today, we realize that when we go to some of our supermarkets, we get food imported from some of the countries which are deserts. And yet we are happily going to these supermarkets, buying some of these imported products, seeing them branded, made in such and such a country. Because of my diplomatic role, I don't want to say the countries, but it is unfortunate that at this point in time, we still import some of those horticultural fruits from these countries. Agriculture sector received a major setback last year with the attack of armyworms on our crops. Of course, the majorly affected areas were Uasin Gishu here, Trans Nzoia, and other neighboring countries or other counties. I want to assure the farmers present here today that the government is doing its best to ensure that this pest is managed and that farmers are taken care of so that the economy of our country can be able to grow. As a country, we need to adopt drought-resistant or tolerant varieties, investing in soil and water management, and providing timely climate and weather information. Under the Big Four agenda, the government has prioritized agriculture, affordable housing, universal health care, and manufacturing. And of course, food security comes top of the Big Four agenda. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you again to this year's Agribusiness Trade Fair and wish you a wonderful time as you interact with some of our exhibitors and some of our stakeholders. It is now my humble duty and pleasure to declare this year's University of Eldoret Trade Fair officially open. The University of Eldoret is the only university in this country that has agribusiness trade fair. And I want to congratulate the council and management for this great initiative. And I'm happy to note that it is only this university which has a very serious corporate social responsibility venture that is aimed at ensuring that the stakeholders, the farmers, the exhibitors, the business people are able to meet under the agribusiness trade fair in this country. So I want to thank you, the university, for this initiative. I only want to challenge you that as we are in this trade fair, are we really targeting the right people for this trade fair? Or are we targeting, or are we not focusing ourselves better so that we can be able to attract the real farmers and be able to get value for this wonderful trade fair? I want to say that as we move on, we realize that there is no way we can do without agriculture. There's no way we can do without food. Food is a must for everybody. And His Excellency Arab Kemia made it very clearly. Food is everything for us. And there's no country in this world that can claim to be doing well without food security. So I want to urge us to really reorganize probably in future this agribusiness trade fair so that it can create real impact. Probably I'm told this is the first day, but still as the first day, we need to see the farmers coming forward and saying, really, this is the technology I'm picking, this is what I'm going to do to ensure that we change our country. Well, just to mention a little bit, as you have been told, I'm Kenyan ambassador to Pakistan. Kenya and Pakistan have excellent relations, and we continue working on them. And I want to say that the engine of the relationship between Kenya and Pakistan is trade. Trade continues being the engine. Pakistan is not a very big country, but for your information, it produces more wheat than the entire of Africa combined. This is a small country, like it's 2 times Kenya, but it produces a lot of wheat. It exports rice to almost all over the world, whether Africa, whether America, whether Europe. Pakistan exports. Pakistan has adopted new technologies, modern technologies, which we can be able to borrow. So as we move forward, we shall engage with the university so that we see whether we can be able to get a linkage on what technologies we can be able to transfer from Pakistan to Kenya. So I do not want to take a lot of your time. I want to say thank you very much for listening to me. And I look forward to engaging more with this university. For me, this university is home. I am here to stay. I'll always be coming, whether as a chief guest or as a farmer. I am a stakeholder in this university. We want this university to succeed. We want the farmers to succeed. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Father, wonderful Lord, we come before you this afternoon. We thank you, mighty Jesus, for the gift of life you've granted unto us. Mighty Jesus, we know we are not perfect than others, but because of your love, mighty Jesus, but because of your mercies, mighty Father, and the good plans you had for us, mighty Jesus, we've seen this day, mighty Father. Jesus, I bless you on behalf of our chief guest who has come, mighty Jesus. Bless him, mighty Father, for taking his time to come and coming for the invitation, mighty Jesus. Just bless him, mighty Father. As you are preparing for even tomorrow, mighty Jesus, just bless us, mighty Father. We are going to have lunch, mighty Jesus. Just bless us, provide for those who don't have, so that another day they'll have. We love you, exalt you, and we pray, believing and trusting in your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.